Okay, so I do apologize for the tilted video. This was recorded on a phone, so it's not the best quality, but we're just going to go with it. So I started this workout with sumo deadlifts. I always make sure to do warm-up sets before performing any heavy compound movement. This is just to get that extra blood flow, making sure nothing is tight, nothing is going to get pulled, and all my muscles are warmed up. During my warm-ups, I really focus on my form, making sure to reset after every rep. I do this by taking a deep breath at the bottom, targeting my lats, making sure my back is completely straight, and then focusing on my glute to hamstring tie-in. Your glutes and your hamstrings are going to be the driving force of this whole entire movement. I then squeeze my glutes at the top, really getting that glute activation and finishing out the movement. I then did my working sets, which is about 75% of my max weight. This is just to make sure I get a little extra volume and make sure I get those extra reps in. I then moved on to my superset, which was hip thrust alongside with single hip thrust paired with curtsy lunges. So when doing hip thrust, your feet should not be too far in front of your knee nor too far under your knee. My feet are a little more forward than they should be, that's okay. So when doing this exercise, you will notice that my feet are slightly tilted out. This is just a mental cue for me to really target my glutes, and it helps with glute activation. I then moved on to single-legged hip thrusts. These can be a bit awkward at first. This was my first time trying these. I incorporated them just to get a little extra burn after the thrusts themselves. You kind of have to shift the weight over to counteract the fact that you're using your hips, but you're only using one leg to push the weight with. Once you get past the awkward motion, this does really give you a good glute burn. I then went on to the second part of my superset, which was curtsy lunges. I prefer to do single-legged exercises if I'm able to. This is just a personal preference. It really helps me get the mind to muscle connection when I'm focusing on one side, and really gives me a good pump versus when I focus on both sides at one time. So when doing any type of lunge, you always want to make sure your knee is not going over your foot or over your toe. During curtsy lunges, I also try and keep my other knee more directly under my butt than not, just to make sure I'm targeting my glutes a little more. I then did single-legged hamstring curls. Again, this is a personal preference. You can do lying hamstring curls if you want to target both hamstrings at the same time. My right side is more dominant and does tend to take over, which is why I prefer single-legged exercises. So this is my last set, so my form is not the best here. I was just trying to get in the last reps and finish the set. I went a little heavier, being that I really am trying to grow my hamstrings right now, so in effect my form is going to be a little compromised. My form is a little bit better on my right side, again because my right side is more dominant, it's a little more stronger. My form still is not correct here. My hips are thrusting up to get the weight up, just not as much. When performing any hamstring exercise, you want to solely focus on the hamstring and no other muscle should be used or any other swing body movement to help you get the weight up. But I was going heavier, which is why my form is a little compromised. I then moved on to hip abductors. So when doing this exercise, I like to not sit on the bench but also not completely elevated. You'll notice that I start pausing. This is because the weight was a little light, so I really wanted to ensure the glute activation by squeezing during the abduction. This just made sure that I was really focusing on my glutes and getting a good glute pump. I then got in a short clip of my finisher on the Glute Master. You really need to focus on your glutes during this exercise and make sure your foot placement is right, because it is really easy for this to become a quad dominant movement. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this workout. It was really fun to get to record it, and I will definitely be making more in the future.